Hi everyone, my name's Emel. I'm projects curator here at the Serpentine Galleries, and I'm very, very happy to welcome you to our third Radical Kitchen picnic. The Radical Kitchen is a program that's running throughout summer, co-hosted by the amazing chefs from Mazi Mas, and we have Nasreen here with us today. And each week we're inviting a different amazing grassroots organization, project or campaign that are really that are doing a lot of work to change London and bring people together in a moment where London is increasingly privatized. Things are very, very difficult. It's a difficult place to gather people together, but there are still amazing people that are giving up their time and devoting their lives to changing London. And today we have the People's Fridge and their comrades, and we're really excited to join, to have them all join us today. And I think there are going to be a few people speaking, and we're going to be talking about food waste and food poverty in London today. Last week we had Women for Refugee Women, and the whole Radical Kitchen project wants to highlight the way that we can care for each other and how eating together and food can really bring people together. So before we pass the mic over to the people from the People's Fridge, Nasreen is just going to talk a little bit about Mazi Mas and the food we were eating today at our picnic.
Hello. Mazi Mas established a few years ago by Nikki, and since then she was aimed to employ as much as possible, help the ladies with the different background, coming from different countries, and trying to find a way to the job market, but because of so many different reasons, language barrier or some other reason, they couldn't, being a mother working at home, they couldn't find a job. So Nikki established Mazi Mas, and Mazi Mas since then trying very hard to achieve that goal. And at the moment, Nikki is working with a group of ladies and trying to establish the model so she could have it in the other countries as well. And the food we had it today, it was from different parts of the world, I could say, from Venezuela, Costa Rica, and Iran. The food I made it today, it was a labna, which I made the yogurt myself. So I strained it, used the buttermilk out of that yogurt to infuse the focaccia, trying to make it a little bit Iranian with that Nigella seed. Hopefully next time I could add a little bit of touch of turmeric to make it more Iranian. I didn't have that courage to go for turmeric and focaccia. It looks a little bit strange, but next time I will try it. And the dip you had, it is originally served with the rice and smoked fish, which is the beans. I use the calanini beans with the garlic and the dill. Normally it's come with in a pallet with the rice, smoked rice sometimes, and smoked fish is really nice, and with the quail egg on top is amazing. And also we had corn cake, is from Costa Rica, I think. And the special corn is not just a normal corn, it's a white, very giant size corn. And the tortilla is from made by chef from Venezuela, but originally is, as you know, is from Spain. And it required a really, really amazing talent to make it that way. I just tried, but it's just not easy. I could say you need a really, really good experience to be able to make it that shape. And we are trying to, as I must say, trying to introduce the people more and more to other cultures, especially for myself as Iranian. It always was the issue. Iran comes as an evil country with the people. They are just angry, shouting outside, trying to threat the other countries. But I'm not sure about government, but when it comes to people, they are so nice, very hospitable people. They love everybody outside the world. They want to be contact with them. So I think food is the best way to talk our language. It doesn't need anything. You just bring the lovely food and start to see the other people. And I'm sure that will be effect in future. More and more people come and talk about their culture. Thank you.
Thank you. So you can buy food, you can buy the sweet corn cake and the tortilla over at the cafe if you didn't manage to taste this amazing picnic that we had today. But now I'd like to quickly hand over to the People's Fridge. Thank you.
To Mike's Fridge. Before we start, I'd like to just reiterate the words. The food was amazing, and thank you very much to Mazi Mas. You can really tell when food is made with love. Thank you.
So I want to start with a simple question. Who here today has a fridge at home? Yeah? Great. That's what I was hoping for. So I want to ask you to think about that fridge as we start today. So imagine a fridge just like yours at home, but in the middle of a really busy food market in the centre of Brixton in South London. And imagine that that fridge is open to the public to help themselves to food with no questions asked. And imagine that local people and local businesses can leave surplus or leftover food there so that it doesn't go to waste, and they can share it with their community. Imagine that fridge is open every day, come rain or shine.
Well, it exists. This fridge exists. It's called the Brixton Spewpa fridge, or Freddy to his friends. It's a community fridge in Pop Brixton in South London. And it's got followers. How many, Marla?
We have 2,000 followers on Twitter.
Dottie, since you're our social media guru, can you beat that?
No, I think I've only got about 200. Can you top that, Ben?
No, I've got 170.
I've just got 4, sadly.
I've only got 1.
0.
I mean, the fridge isn't just about Twitter. It's inspired people all over the world. When we launched it, we found we were getting interest from the US, Japan, Canada, Israel, France, Germany. Really, it's been a sort of global eyes on what we're doing, and a huge inspiration.
Kate, did you wheel a bin down the road? I thought I saw you actually wheeling bin off the streets.
No, we didn't just put a fridge out in the street. The health and safety people would have just killed us.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. We started with a link, actually. Someone sent round a link and said, what do you think about this? And it was a story about a man in Spain who ran a restaurant and put a fridge outside his restaurant for people that needed food, that could take surplus food from his restaurant. And famous last words, someone said, that's a good idea, we should do that. So in the Impact Hub in Brixton, we decided we would prototype that idea. And we quickly realised if we were going to prototype a community fridge, we needed a fridge. And then we worked out, because we're quite smart, that if we needed a fridge, we probably needed to buy one. So we launched a crowdfunder in the summer of 2016, and we asked for £1,000. And within a week, we had £1,000, and we still had 3 weeks left of our crowdfunder to run. By the time the crowdfunder had finished, we had raised more than £2,000.
So suddenly we had all of this money. We were like, oh shit, we actually have to do something with it. We have to give this a really good go and try and make this work. Next thing, Jamie Oliver had heard about us. You guys might have heard of him, you know, famous chef, he's everywhere here. And so during a day of filming, his lighting guy also fell in love with the concept of the fridge, and he actually bought us one. So we just want to take this opportunity to give Mike Sarah a big round of applause, because he bought us that big 800-litre glass fridge we have in Brixton.
So now we had £2,270 and a fridge. And we launched the fridge on the 8th of February this year. And the fridge is only 5 months old.
That's why we keep on getting baby food.
That's a good point. We do get some donations of baby food in the fridge. I think this is a good opportunity to let everyone know what kind of food we do receive in the fridge. The 5 of us up here know about that because we're 5 of the volunteers who keep the fridge going. So we meet once a week, every Monday evening. We make sure that the fridge is safe, we make sure the right things are going into it, and we make sure that people know about it too. What experiences do you guys have of seeing food shared in the fridge?
Well, I've seen a lovely bottle of truffle oil. I really wanted to take that home. Some artichokes, fine cheeses and relishes. Unsurprising, the gentrification of Brixton. What have you seen, Kat?
I've seen some beautiful salmon bagels and pastrami sandwiches that a bakery donates to us quite regularly. We also do get some baby food in there, just the odd batch every now and then. We're not sure who from.
Go on, Kat. Well, I'll share my experience. I got rang up one day by a guy who said, "Can you take 400 jars of tomato ketchup?" My first question to him was, "What's wrong with them?" And he said, "There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that I'm a real perfectionist. I sell these for £4 a bottle, and the formula isn't exactly as I wanted it to be." So we said yes, and we took them, and they just blew out.
We also get some hipster food, like quinoa, almond milk, avos, all very gratefully received. What was your favorite, Dodgy?
I remember one time specifically, I should probably mention that this was about mid-May. I went down to run a check on the fridge to find a whole shelf full of luxury mini Christmas puddings, which actually got used up quicker than I would have thought for that time of year. Another memorable one is sort of some daily donations of pastries and cakes and things like that we receive.
Every now and then we get some really wonky fruit and vegetables. I tell you, these things are hilarious. Like, we should start a photo album of these things. Totally edible, totally fine. And the Ritzy Cinema in Brixton gives us some lovely cake. I've never seen a piece of this, but Dottie swears it's delicious.
I'll vouch for that.
Probably, though, the most memorable thing that has gone through the fridge was when we had 3 tons of vegetables. Do you want to say something about that, Ben?
Yeah, I've got a slight confession to make. I took the call from the organisation that wanted to work with us, and I said, "Yep, that sounds great." And then I went on holiday to the Lake District.
Yeah, it's something that the rest of us aren't going to forget anytime soon. It was organised between Ben and Franco Manca, the pizza chain, and it was an event that happened on the Wednesday of National Vegetarian Week. So what it was members of the public could walk down to Franco Manca with their surplus vegetables, and in exchange they would get a free vegetarian pizza. Then we would turn up that evening, pick up the surplus vegetables, rehome them in the fridge, and they would be distributed to the people who need them, our users. Sounds easy enough, right?
Yeah, so it was a really simple plan. And I think at the time we were expecting to receive about a bag, so your regular shopping bag full of vegetables from each branch of the pizza chain in London. That was until about an hour through this 3-hour promotion, and I received a call. It was our contact at Franco Manca, and she tried to get into one of the central London branches of the restaurant. Only she couldn't get in because there was a queue out the door and down the street of people patiently waiting with bags full of vegetables to cash in for a free pizza. We'd already agreed to collect from 20 branches of Franco Manca.
Yeah, I remember it rained quite heavily as the first vegetables arrived. We pretty much instantly filled the fridge. Then we filled a container-sized meeting room. Then a shop unit. and still the vegetables, they just kept on coming, that our volunteers were busily collecting from all over London. So we made some calls. Could we find some more space? Could we find homes quickly? There was already 2 tons of vegetables, courgettes, broccoli, cauliflower, potatoes, leeks, you name it.
Well, coincidentally, that late afternoon, I had a meeting with the local housing association, and then they wanted me to try and organize some surplus food for their elderly residents and residents on low income. And just before that meeting was going to start, I get this WhatsApp message from Dottie saying, there's loads of vegetables on his way, help. So I didn't even get to start this message and get to greet and meet the other staff members. I said to the CEO, come with me. He didn't know what was going on. I said, just come with me. I've got all these vegetables. So I took him to the people's fridge, and there was this abundance. It was like a flood of vegetables. He was gobsmacked. He didn't know what was going on. I said, there you go, your surplus food project just started. So I managed to give them about a few 100 kilos of that. They walked away laughing and very happy, and that was brilliant. So throughout the night, we had all these vegetables turning up, and we managed to take over the Brixton Pound Pay-As-You-Feel cafe, and then all of us had to take stock of our vegetables. And throughout the night, all of this happened. So the next morning, what we did was we set up a vegetable giveaway, and we put tables along outside the Brixton Pound Cafe, and just about anybody walking past could help themselves and, take all the vegetables, local organizations, charities, wherever was going past. So none of the food got wasted. Within 24 hours, we managed to get all this food out. And now this was a real, true test for us to see if this could be a long-term community project. And yes, we did it. Oh, and luckily enough, we had loads of carrots left over, so we managed to get it off to the Ebony Horse Club, and we got to feed the horses as well. I must admit, we were knackered.
And that should be the end of the story, except that Brazilian TV had come to film while some of this was going on. And a few weeks later, they sent us a clip and they said, here's what went out on national news in Brazil. And it was a story told with heightened tones and exaggeration and great excited storytelling about this fridge in London where they give away hundreds of kilos of vegetables to anyone that wants them.
Yeah, so thankfully that was a really unusual day. We should probably give you some insight into what a normal day is for the fridge. Ben, since you work nearby, can you give us some thoughts?
Yeah, so I work near the fridge, and that means that I get to see occasionally people who come and use it, and we go up and talk to them and do that. And in terms of leaving food at the fridge, a lady came up with 2 large bags of chocolate. Now, people don't tend to give away chocolate, so I came up and I said, why are you giving away the chocolate? And she said, I'm from Sierra Leone and I hate waste. I hate waste. But my mother-in-law loves to give my children chocolate. And so she had in this bag cream eggs, mini eggs. I mean, I couldn't tell you how much chocolate there was, but there was stuff from Christmas and stuff from Easter. And she dutifully put it in there. And I spent the rest of the day just watching people's eyes light up as they realised that there was all this chocolate in the fridge.
We generally ask people who give or take food from the fridge to fill out a log sheet. So I look after the data sheets, and from them we really know that there are some people who regularly take food from the fridge. Because I didn't know before all of this, and you might not either. But from a food bank, you can only use it 3 times. That's not 3 times a month or 3 times a year. That's 3 times, and you're on your own.
Could we share some stories of some of the people that we've seen using the fridge and benefiting from the food that they've taken?
Yes, I remember one day I just came by just after the fridge had closed, and there was this gentleman just ahead of me and just looking in what is actually in the fridge. So I just started chatting to him and said I could quickly open it if he wanted something. And he just took a couple of potatoes and some stew. And that small moment that really hit home what this fridge is all about. Any story from you, Kate?
Yeah, so I joked before about Dottie eating some of the cake, but all of us volunteers, you know, we have to open and close the fridge and check in on it, and every now and then when you're there might be like an amazing looking sandwich or a beautiful piece of fruit. And I'm not gonna lie, like I do take the odd bit now and then, and my reasoning for that is that I know I'm gonna eat it, I know I'm not gonna throw it out, and I know it's not gonna go to waste, and that's a big reason of why the fridge is there.
One Saturday morning, I was just working around the fridge, and there was this young family browsing around Brixton, and then they discovered the fridge. So they asked me about it, and I told them about the fridge story. And then the little girl said, "Oh, can I have that sandwich for my grandma, please?" She was absolutely delighted. And you know what? It's brilliant. People are using it. Ben, have you heard anything interesting?
So I see a lot of the fridge, but one of the things that really stands out for me was when I was actually just having a beer near the fridge, and this chap came up. It was a Friday night, about 6 o'clock, and the fridge was empty. It had 2 really sorry-looking bread rolls in it and a couple of other things. And this chap came up in his working clothes, and he opened the fridge and he looked in, and he ended up taking the 2 bread rolls away. And I went up to him. I felt so bad. I apologised, and I said, "Look, I'm really sorry. You know, the nature of the fridge is we can't always guarantee what's in there." And then we locked the fridge for the evening after this man had gone, and I finished my beer, and I walked out of the food market where the fridge is, and I realised I'd forgotten something. I went back in, and someone had come in and they'd filled the fridge full of food, which again also happens. And as I was on my way home, I saw the man that had come in still working, and I went up to him and I said, "Look, you came in to try and get food. We've got food now. Do you want to come back? I'll unlock the fridge for you." So he said, "All right," and he came back in with me, and he spied quite a large jar of confit duck sitting in the top left-hand corner of the fridge, and took that and a few other things, and we locked the fridge back up, and that was that. And it's really symbolic, I think, of 2 things, not just this idea of food surplus, but also the idea that food poverty isn't people around the margins. It's working Londoners often.
A time that I can remember meeting someone using the fridge. It's an example that kind of summarises the other end of the spectrum of people who benefit. I met a guy who was out with some friends for a couple of drinks, and he saw the fridge. He'd never come across it before. He was asking loads of questions. He took a look inside, and he found a huge box of cakes. Keeps coming back to me with the cake. I do share it, honestly. And he took a massive slice, and it turns out the reason he was out celebrating is that it was his girlfriend's birthday that day. And that's what's really important about the fridge, is that it's a judgment-free zone. We don't ask any questions. All we ask our users to do, like Kat said, is fill in our sheet to let us know what they've taken. That's just for us. It helps us track what's gone in and out and helps us keep everybody safe. The only thing that our users all really have in common is they don't have to have anything in common.
So, what goes into the fridge? Do you have any stories?
Yeah, so the fridge has become quite a regular part of my life here in London, and my colleagues hear about it from time to time. So they understand the concept of it, and every now and then they'll bring in bits and pieces of surplus food that they have, and so I'll bring that and put it into the fridge. The fundamentals of the fridge is that people like myself and all of us here and all of you as well, that any individual can go and put in and share any surplus food that they have. We're also trying to engage with lots of businesses as well. There are so many businesses in Brixton within a really small walk, a small distance from the fridge, and we're working to engage with them, understand what surplus they have, when they have it, and how variable it is. So yeah, we're working on that. I know that Kat takes in some food as well from her work.
Yeah, that's true. At the end of the week, I just take some home from work to the fridge. It's just some milk or some fruit or some biscuits, anything that can be rehomed, really. My colleague gives me things from her allotment now as well. And that's just one office. Just think about how many offices in London could do something similar, or all over Britain, really.
So one night I was locking up the fridge with another fridge colleague, and a young man walked in with loads of food. And he said to us, he's from a film production company, and at the end of the day they waste so much of food, just goes into the bin. He heard about the fridge, and he thought it was a brilliant idea that he could just come through and put the food in there. Fantastic. How about you, Ben?
So I'll just tell you very briefly the story of Adrian. And all you need to know about Adrian is that Adrian works in festivals where there's lots of spare food, and Adrian drives down from Hackney to give us food. And that's really amazing and generous, and actually typical of a lot of the effort that people put in to give us food.
We also have a number of local organisations who donate their surplus to us. One example is the Ritzy Cinema in Brixton, just down the road from the fridge. They give us the cake and biscuits and things that they don't sell from their restaurant. They leave those with the fridge. Another one is the vegetable delivery company Oddbox. They give us loads of wonderful wonky veg. We had some amazing violet potatoes last week. I still think there's more we could do. There's so many businesses in Brixton that could be helping us cut waste. People like you, we welcome everyone to come down. So if you're in Brixton, don't be shy. Bring us some leftovers from your fridge.
Yeah, so, you know, we've talked a lot about the fridge, and it's probably just worth coming back and asking the group, why, for you, why does the fridge exist?
It's actually quite hard to find a home for surplus food, particularly small quantities. It's just not really feasible for food redistribution organizations just to come and collect them from you. And I mean, food banks are really amazing and doing a great job, but they're not open every day. They've got some restrictions, and generally they don't take fresh food.
I worked in food surplus for quite some years now, and it's a well-organized machine to get food into supermarkets and restaurants. But most of my conversations is about matching the organizations with local groups and those who want it and need it. But I'll tell you, the logistics is the hardest part of the task.
Another element of the fridge that doesn't initially come to mind is the education. So I've learnt a lot about the logistics, as Marla mentioned, but also the difference between food waste and food surplus. So if anyone here can put their hands up if they understand the difference between these two things. All right, well, yeah, I kind of hope so. So, yeah, shout out. So when you've got, if you think about, you know, some fruit in your fridge and you've got too much that you don't think you're going to be able to consume, that's food surplus. As soon as that food becomes inedible, unusable, or you throw it out, it becomes food waste. So that's the difference between those two things. And what the fridge really does is we're really pushing for the education and also to really challenge the perception out there. So you might see something and you might think, I'm not going to eat that, it's waste, but actually it's just surplus. And what we want to do is, you know, people come to the fridge and they see something that someone's put in there and they think that's good enough to eat, and it is good enough to eat, and so it's just food.
And we see this day after day. People spot the fridge quite often from afar where it is, and they see, oh, there's the fridge. And they get a bit closer and they maybe read the story that we've got on the glass window of the fridge about how it's come to be and what it is, and you can see this light bulb moment as they're getting to grips with it. And I guess the important thing here is that often people don't like to be lectured about food surplus or food poverty. You know, it's not that these issues aren't important, it's just sometimes that people have an overload in terms of people telling them about their cause. But with the fridge, people can engage with it in their own time. And it's actually all the more important when they're doing this in a space that is primarily for fun. It's a food market where people come and eat £10 burgers. So these people are having these thoughts about food surplus. They're turning and looking at a £10 burger and they're going, that's good enough to eat. They're looking in the fridge and having those thoughts as well. In terms of food poverty, they're also looking at the £10 burger and thinking, I know what that does. and they're looking at the food and thinking, that's someone's meal for the evening. And that's quite a powerful process that happens, and it happens all in people's heads. We're not doing that for them.
There's also been plenty of times where I've got along to do a regular check on the fridge or to close it up at the end of the day. And I've actually been mobbed by people who've seen the fridge and they've got all these questions they want to know. So quite often, 10 minutes later, I'm actually still there with the lock in my hand trying to close it up for the night. And it's all my old favourites. You know, where has this massive fridge come from? Where does the food come from? Can I really take something for free? I think we've probably all had conversations like that whenever we do anything related to the fridge.
So we're going to wrap up now, but I guess if I could just ask each of you to share some final thoughts about your experiences of the fridge and what it means for you.
Yeah, so if you haven't figured out by now, I'm not from Britain. And being a New Zealander in London, I didn't have the biggest network here. And now that I'm part of the fridge, I've been connected to the 10 volunteers, and we meet on a regular basis, and it's become a really great community for me to be involved in. And just to get a bit warm and fuzzy, when I think about the fridge and every day that it's actually open and operational and available for people, it actually makes you feel quite good inside, because you know that you're contributing and you're creating this thing that if it wasn't there, it just wouldn't be happening. There were a few skeptics. They did say that it wasn't going to happen, it wouldn't be operational, and that being in Brixton, it would be damaged and abused. And we just want to invite those people down to Pop Brixton and come and check out the fridge and maybe take a piece of fruit or something.
I'm involved in the many social media profiles that the fridge has. We call him Freddy the Fridge. He's got over 2,000 followers on Twitter. You can find him on Facebook as well and Instagram. It's all at People's Fridge, so please do stay in touch. And by being involved in those profiles, I've actually connected with people from all over the world. You know, people have got in touch to tell us that the People's Fridge is an inspiration, asking us how we've done it and asking what they can do to start one in their own community. And it's not just the strangers that I've connected with, but old friends and people I've lost touch with. Every time I share something online about the fridge, people get in touch with me that I used to know, asking what's this fridge that I'm so passionate about and what am I involved in?
Well, I met a lady in a cafe and she became a regular user of the fridge. And so she'd tell all her friends about it and just about anybody. So the fridge became her fridge. So it's not our fridge. There's a real sense of joy and pride and ownership of it in our community.
Yeah, we didn't start out to start a franchise, but there are now other fridges popping up, and so it feels like we helped start a movement. If that means more kindness and more sharing and also more consciousness on how we consume. That's quite cool with me. Ben, famous last words?
Famous last words. No pressure. I guess I'm looking around seeing people maybe my age and older, which is nice. I guess for many of us, we were told that there was no such thing as society. That's what we grew up on. And I think the fridge challenges that. It says, well, actually, there is such a thing as society. And there are shared things that we own, shared spaces that we live in. And there's almost nothing more intimate that you can share than food with someone. We talk about breaking bread with one another. We've had this amazing meal from Mazi Mas today, and it's brought people together to eat. And the fridge takes some of that. When people bring food down to the fridge, they do it knowing that they won't see the person that takes the food from it. It is a transaction of goodwill for which they receive no direct benefit. They don't even get a thank you, not from the people that take it. From the people that take food out of the fridge, they get all this joy and goodwill, often on the worst of days and the worst of times, knowing that someone out there in London or in Brixton has taken the time and the effort to bring food down for them. We're now finding that people say to us, oh, Pop Brixton, is that where the fridge is? That's how we know that we've created a community asset. That's how we know that we've created a genuine people's fridge. Thank you very much.